I built my life with the same precision I use to develop commercial properties. Every decision calculated, every risk assessed, every foundation solid. At 38, I own 17 buildings across 3 states, employ 43 people, and maintain a credit score that makes bank managers smile. I didn't inherit this. I earned it, brick by brick, contract by contract, from a cramped apartment above my father's failing hardware store. Rachel likes to say I'm methodical. She means it as a compliment, usually when she's showing me off at dinner parties. Michael plans everything, she'll tell her friends, her hand resting on my shoulder like a claim. He's the reason we have such a beautiful life. Beautiful. That's Rachel's favorite word. Her Instagram feed is a testament to beauty. Our house, our vacations, our anniversary dinners. 35 years old, and she's turned curation into an art form. Former marketing executive turned lifestyle blogger, though the blog mostly exists to justify her shopping habits and weekend retreats. The real money comes from my developments, but Rachel's the one who makes it look effortless. We've been married 7 years. No children, Rachel's choice, though she phrases it as our choice when people ask. We're so focused on building our empire, she'll say, her smile bright as camera flash. Maybe someday. Someday never comes. But I stopped pressing the issue 3 years ago. Marriage is compromise, and Rachel compromises by staying married to a man who grew up shopping at Goodwill. I compromise by pretending her weekend yoga retreats are actually about yoga. Our house sits on 2 acres in Westchester, all white stone and floor-to-ceiling windows. Rachel chose it for the natural light, better for photos. I bought it because the foundation was sound and the bones were good. We both got what we wanted, which is how most of our marriage works. Tuesday nights, we have dinner with her parents at the country club. Rachel's father owns 3 car dealerships and thinks I'm practical but lacking vision. Her mother collects charity board positions like Rachel collects followers. They tolerate me because I can afford their daughter's lifestyle and because I don't embarrass them at social functions. Friday nights, we attend whatever event Rachel has circled on her calendar. Gallery openings, product launches, networking mixers for her influencer friends. I wear the suits she picks out and make conversation about market trends while she poses for photos with people whose names I forget by Sunday. The routine worked. 7 years of Tuesday dinners and Friday events, of Rachel's morning smoothies and evening skincare rituals, of her humming while she edited photos on the couch beside me. I thought routine meant stability. The first crack appeared 6 months ago. Small thing, Rachel declining intimacy more often. I'm exhausted, she'd say, or my hormones are all over the place. Normal marriage issues, according to the articles she left strategically on the kitchen counter. Modern women, they explained, experience cyclical desire. I should be patient, understanding, supportive. I was all 3. I gave her space, planned romantic weekends, bought flowers without occasion. Rachel appreciated the effort, she said, but she needed time to reconnect with herself. The yoga retreats increased from monthly to bi-weekly. The blog posts about finding authentic feminine energy multiplied. I didn't question it. Trust, I'd learned from business, was either absolute or worthless. Half trust was how partnerships crumbled and deals fell apart. So I trusted completely, the way I'd always trusted Rachel's explanations, her schedules, her needs. Then came last Tuesday night. I was supposed to be in Albany until Wednesday, finalizing permits for a new office complex. The meeting ended early. The city planning committee approved everything in 2 hours instead of the expected 6. I drove home through a thunderstorm, thinking about surprising Rachel with takeout from her favorite Thai place. The house was dark except for the bedroom window. Rachel's car sat in the driveway, and I could see the blue glow of her phone screen through the curtains. I parked quietly, force of habit from years of coming home late without wanting to wake her. I was unlocking the front door when I heard her laugh. Not the polite chuckle she used for my jokes or the practiced giggle she deployed at parties. This was different, raw, intimate. The kind of laugh that comes from deep in the chest. The kind that emerges when someone feels completely unguarded. "You know I only fake it with him, right?" The words drifted down the stairs as I stood in the entryway, my keys still in my hand. Rachel's voice, but not her tone. This voice was younger, breathier, conspiratorial. This voice belonged to a woman I didn't recognize. "God, you're terrible," she continued, and I could hear the smile in her words. "He probably thinks he's so good at it. Poor Michael." I set my keys on the entry table without making a sound, slipped off my shoes. The stairs didn't creak, I'd had them reinforced when we renovated, so I climbed them like a ghost, each step deliberate and silent. Her door was cracked open. She lay on her stomach, feet in the air, phone pressed to her ear. She wore the red silk pajamas I'd bought her for Christmas, the ones she claimed were too nice for everyday wear. "I know, baby," she was saying. "I'm stuck here until at least 10. He's in Albany, but he always calls when he gets to the hotel." She rolled onto her back, stretching like a cat. "Thursday, though. Thursday we have all afternoon. I told him I have that brand collaboration meeting." I stepped back from the door, walked downstairs, sat in my study with the lights off, listening to the rain against the windows. 20 minutes later, Rachel appeared in the doorway, her hair mussed, wearing a different pair of pajamas, the blue ones with the torn shoulder seam. "Michael? I thought I heard you come in." "Flight got delayed," I said. "Just got back." She crossed the room and kissed my forehead. Her lips were warm, and she smelled like her expensive moisturizer. "Poor baby. You look exhausted." "Long day." "Well, come to bed. I'll make you some tea." I followed her upstairs, accepted the chamomile tea, kissed her good night. She curled against me the way she had for 7 years, her breathing deep and even within minutes. I lay awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling, cataloging everything I'd heard. The timeline, the tone, the name she'd almost said before catching herself. Jake. It had to be Jake. In the morning, Rachel hummed while she made her smoothie. She asked about Albany, sympathized about the delayed flight, reminded me about dinner with her parents that evening. Normal Rachel. Tuesday, Rachel. The woman who'd been married to me for 7 years. But I'd heard the other woman, the one who faked it, the one who called me poor Michael to someone named Jake. I didn't confront her. Confrontation was for amateurs, for men who acted on emotion instead of information. I was a developer. I knew how to assess a situation, gather data, make informed decisions. So I watched, and I waited, and I learned. The next morning, Rachel mentioned Jake over coffee. Casual, like she was reading the weather report. "I'm meeting with Jake today about that wellness brand collaboration. You remember Jake, right? From my yoga certification program?" I stirred my coffee, keeping my voice level. "Jake. He's working with this amazing adaptogen company. Very cutting-edge stuff. They want to partner with lifestyle influencers who have authentic wellness practices." Authentic. The word sat bitter in my mouth. "How long have you been working with him?" "Oh, we've been talking for months. He's got such great energy, you know, really understands the wellness space." She was good. The way she said it, Jake could have been anyone. A business contact, a yoga instructor, a harmless friend. But I'd heard her voice on the phone. The intimacy, the familiarity, the way she'd called him baby. "What kind of collaboration?" Rachel brightened, launching into a detailed explanation of adaptogen powders and morning ritual content. She spoke with genuine enthusiasm, the way she always did when discussing potential income streams. But underneath the business talk, I caught something else. A flush in her cheeks when she said his name. A slight hesitation before the word colleague. After she left for her meeting, I sat in my study and did what I do best. I investigated. Jake Morrison, 29 years old, personal trainer turned wellness entrepreneur. His company, Mindful Movement, offered yoga teacher certifications and retreat planning services. His Instagram showed a lean, tattooed body in various meditation poses, usually shirtless, often on beaches or mountaintops. The photos told a story. Jake didn't just teach yoga, he sold a lifestyle. Every image was carefully composed to suggest freedom, authenticity, spiritual awakening. The kind of manufactured authenticity that appealed to women like Rachel, women who'd traded corporate careers for the promise of following their passion. I scrolled through months of posts. Jake at Sunrise in Costa Rica. Jake leading a workshop in Tulum. Jake promoting his latest retreat. Awaken your divine feminine energy. The comments were telling. Dozens of women praising his wisdom, his energy, his ability to see their true selves. Rachel had liked every single post for the past 8 months. She came home that evening glowing. Actually glowing, like she'd spent the day at a spa instead of in a coffee shop discussing business partnerships. "How was the meeting?" I asked. "Incredible. Jake is so connected to the wellness community. He thinks we could really build something special together." Together. The word hung in the air between us. "What kind of timeline are you looking at?" "Well, we want to start slow. Maybe some weekend workshops, a few retreat collaborations. Test the market before we commit to anything major. Weekend workshops. Retreat collaborations." I nodded, made supportive noises, asked the right questions. Rachel explained the business model with genuine excitement, and I could see why she'd be attracted to the idea. Freedom from corporate constraints, creative control, the chance to build something meaningful. But I'd seen Jake's Instagram. This wasn't about business. Over the following weeks, the pattern became clear. Rachel's brand collaboration meetings happened twice a week, always lasting 4 to 6 hours. She'd return energized, talkative, full of ideas for new content and marketing strategies. Her yoga practice intensified. She bought new workout clothes, expensive mats, essential oils for her home studio. The distance between us widened, but it was subtle. Rachel was still affectionate, still played the role of devoted wife at social functions. But the moments of genuine connection, the quiet conversations over morning coffee, the comfortable silences during evening walks, those disappeared. She started suggesting changes to our relationship dynamic. "I've been reading about conscious uncoupling," she said one evening, apropos of nothing. Not divorce, obviously, but creating more space for individual growth within partnership. "What kind of space?" "Well, like, we don't have to tell each other everything. We can have private friendships, separate interests. It's healthier, actually, more evolved." Evolved. Another word from Jake's vocabulary, I suspected. "Some couples are even exploring ethical non-monogamy," she continued, her voice carefully neutral. "Not that I'm suggesting anything, just... It's interesting how many people are questioning traditional relationship structures." I made non-committal sounds, asked questions that suggested curiosity rather than suspicion. Rachel seemed encouraged by my apparent openness, launching into a detailed explanation of polyamory podcasts and relationship books she'd been consuming. The conversation felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced these talking points, testing my boundaries, gauging my reaction, laying groundwork. That night, after Rachel fell asleep, I retrieved my laptop and did deeper research. Jake's business was legitimate but struggling. His retreat bookings were down, his certification program had poor reviews, and his social media engagement was artificially inflated by bots. But his personal life was thriving. Photos tagged at expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, weekend getaways, all funded by business partnerships with married women who promoted his retreats and workshops. I found 3 other wives in his orbit. Susan, a former attorney turned life coach. Jennifer, an ex-marketing director who now sold essential oils. Maria, a divorced mother of 2 who'd invested her settlement in Jake's retreat center. The pattern was identical. Professional collaboration that became personal mentorship, that became intimate relationship. Each woman thought she was special, chosen, awakened to her true potential by Jake's spiritual guidance. Rachel wasn't having an affair, she was being recruited into a harem. The realization didn't make me angry. Anger was inefficient, clouded judgment, led to poor decisions. Instead, I felt something colder, more focused. The same clarity I experienced when a business deal went bad, when I had to cut losses and protect my interests. I had enough information to confront Rachel, to demand explanations, to threaten divorce. But confrontation would only push her deeper into Jake's influence. She'd deny everything, claim I was paranoid, manipulative, controlling. She'd play the victim of a possessive husband who couldn't support her personal growth. No. If Rachel wanted to redefine our marriage, I'd help her. But the terms would be mine. Knowledge is power, but documentation is leverage. I spent the next month building a case that would hold up in court, in public, and in the mirror. The phone was easy. Rachel had never changed her iCloud password from the one we'd set up together years ago. A simple backup to an old iPad in my study gave me access to her messages, emails, photos, and calendar. Everything synchronized in real time, a live feed of her double life. The laptop required more creativity. I waited until she left for one of her meetings, then installed a keylogger disguised as a software update. Rachel trusted technology about as much as she trusted marriage vows, so she clicked accept without reading the terms. What I found was worse than an affair. It was a systematic dismantling of our marriage, conducted with the same enthusiasm Rachel brought to her Instagram content. The messages with Jake started 8 months ago, initially professional. Discussions about retreat partnerships, content collaboration, shared business goals. But by the 3rd week, the tone shifted. Jake complimented her authentic energy. Rachel confessed feeling creatively stifled in her marriage. He offered to help her unlock her divine feminine potential. The seduction was methodical. Jake positioned himself as a spiritual guide, a mentor who could help Rachel access her true self. He used terms like sacred sexuality and conscious intimacy to reframe adultery as personal growth. Rachel ate it up. By month 2, they were meeting twice a week. Rachel's calendar showed blocked time for brand collaboration, but her photos told a different story. Hotel rooms, restaurants, yoga studios with no other clients. Jake's hands on her back during private instruction. Rachel's face in post-orgasmic bliss she'd never shown me. The shared photo album was devastating. Hundreds of images spanning 6 months. Rachel in lingerie I'd never seen, in positions I'd never experienced with her, in hotel rooms I'd unknowingly paid for. Jake had convinced her to document everything, claiming it was sacred art that celebrated her awakening sexuality. But the photos weren't just for them. Jake was building a portfolio, collecting trophies. Each woman in his orbit had her own album, her own carefully curated collection of compromising images. Insurance, I realized. Protection against wives who might want to leave the arrangement. The financial records were equally damning. Rachel had been using our joint credit card for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, weekend getaways. She'd even bought Jake a $3,000 watch for his birthday, listed on the statement as marketing expense. The total came to nearly $40,000 over 6 months. But Rachel wasn't Jake's only source of income. Susan, the former attorney, had invested $75,000 in his retreat center. Jennifer was paying him $2,000 monthly for private coaching. Maria had bought him a car, justified as a business partnership. Jake Morrison wasn't just a wellness entrepreneur. He was running a sophisticated long-term con, using spiritual manipulation and sexual exploitation to extract money from vulnerable married women. And Rachel was his star pupil. The worst part was her enthusiasm for it. Messages to her friends describing Jake as life-changing and transformational. Blog posts about finding my authentic self and breaking free from societal expectations. social media content promoting his workshops and retreats. She genuinely believed she was having a spiritual awakening. Jake had convinced her that betraying her marriage was actually an act of self-love, that lying to her husband was necessary for her personal growth, that financing his lifestyle was an investment in her own evolution. I printed everything: screenshots, bank statements, hotel receipts, photo galleries, organized them chronologically in 3 separate binders: one for my attorney, one for the private investigator, one for the presentation I was planning. Then I followed Jake. His routine was predictable: morning workouts at an expensive gym in Tribeca, afternoon private sessions with married clients at a studio he rented by the hour, evening drinks at trendy bars where he networked with potential marks. I watched him work. The way he targeted women who looked professionally successful but personally unfulfilled. The way he approached them with spiritual language and authentic vulnerability. The way he listened to their problems with intense focus, making them feel seen and understood. He was good at it. Handsome enough to attract attention, articulate enough to hold it, manipulative enough to exploit it. Every conversation was a performance, every gesture calculated to build trust and dependence. But he was also lazy, arrogant. He used the same lines on every woman, recycled the same spiritual concepts, followed the same seduction timeline. Success had made him careless. I documented his patterns, his techniques, his other victims. Built a profile that would be useful later, when it came time to destroy him. The investigation took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of watching my wife lie to my face while she planned her next betrayal. 3 weeks of listening to her complain about feeling disconnected from me while she documented her sexual encounters with another man. 3 weeks of paying for hotel rooms where she loved someone who was using her for money. By the end, I knew everything. Every lie, every excuse, every manipulation. I knew about the weekend retreat where she'd told me she was visiting her sister. I knew about the girls' night that was actually a threesome with Jake and Jennifer. I knew about the pregnancy scare that had made her cry in our bathroom while texting Jake about their sacred connection. Most importantly, I knew Rachel had never intended to end it. The conversations about ethical non-monogamy weren't preparation for confession. They were groundwork for legitimizing what she was already doing. She wanted to keep me as her stable, financially supportive husband while pursuing her authentic sexual expression with Jake. She wanted to have it all: the house, the security, the lifestyle I provided, plus the excitement and validation Jake offered. She wanted me to fund her affair and call it evolution. I sat in my study that final night, surrounded by evidence of my wife's betrayal, and felt something I hadn't experienced since building my first development project: pure, crystalline focus, the clarity that comes when complex problems reduce to simple solutions. Rachel had made her choice. Now I would make mine. Our 8th anniversary fell on a Saturday in June. Rachel had been dropping hints about a special celebration, something memorable that would mark our new chapter together. I suspected she was planning to propose some form of open marriage, using our anniversary as a launching pad for formalizing her affair. I had different plans. The venue was easy. Rachel had always wanted to dine at 11 Madison Park, but their reservation list was months long. However, they had a private dining room available for special events. 25 guests maximum, custom menu, dedicated service staff. Perfect for intimate celebrations. "I want to surprise Rachel," I told the events coordinator. "Our 8th anniversary, something really special." The price was astronomical, $500 per person plus wine pairings, but money wasn't the issue. This was an investment in closure. I booked it for Saturday evening, then began crafting the guest list. Rachel's parents, obviously, her sister and brother-in-law, her 3 closest friends from college, my parents, my brother, his wife, a few couples we socialized with regularly, and Jake Morrison. The invitation required careful wording. I wanted it to sound like it came from Rachel, but I needed to ensure Jake would actually attend. I used her email account to send the messages. Michael is planning something special for our 8th anniversary dinner this Saturday at 11 Madison Park. He's been so supportive of my personal growth journey, and I think he's ready to take our relationship to the next level. I'd love for you to be there to witness this new chapter in our lives. Cocktails at 7, dinner at 8. Please dress accordingly. This is going to be a night to remember. I sent similar messages to the other guests, adjusting the tone but maintaining the theme of celebration and new beginnings. Everyone RSVP'd yes within 24 hours. Even Jake, who responded with, "Wouldn't miss it for the world, beautiful. This is your moment." The legal preparation was more complex. I met with my attorney, David Greenhouse, a sharp family law specialist who'd handled divorces for half the tech executives in the city. "I need to move fast on this," I told him, sliding the binders across his desk. "Full dissolution, maximum asset protection." David spent an hour reviewing the evidence, his expression growing grimmer with each page. "This is comprehensive. Your wife's been busy. Very busy. On my credit cards. The adultery is clear, but the financial malfeasance is what's going to hurt her. She's been using joint assets to fund the affair, essentially stealing from the marriage to pay for her betrayal." He looked up from the bank statements. "You want to file before or after this dinner?" "After. I want everything ready to go, but I serve the papers Sunday morning." "And the prenup?" "Ironclad. She gets nothing if she commits adultery. I made sure of that." David nodded approvingly. "Smart man. Though I have to ask, are you sure about the public confrontation? It's going to be intense." "That's the point." I spent the rest of the week making final preparations. The private investigator, a former NYPD detective named Carmen Rodriguez, would be positioned outside the restaurant with a process server. The moment I gave the signal, Rachel would be served with divorce papers and a restraining order preventing her from accessing our joint accounts. I also hired a discreet AV company to set up a wireless presentation system in the private dining room, ostensibly for showing anniversary photos, but actually for something far more revealing. Rachel was practically vibrating with excitement all week. She bought a new dress, a red silk number that cost $2,000, and spent hours at the salon getting her hair and makeup done. She assumed I was planning to announce my acceptance of her evolved relationship model, maybe even invite Jake to join us officially. She couldn't have been more wrong. Saturday evening, I dressed in my best navy suit and waited for Rachel to finish her preparations. She appeared at the top of the stairs like a vision, radiant with anticipation and completely unaware that she was walking into an execution. "You look incredible," I said, and meant it. Rachel was beautiful, had always been beautiful. It was one of the things that had drawn me to her 8 years ago, back when I'd believed beauty meant more than surface appearance. "Thank you, baby. This is so exciting. I can't believe you planned all this." I offered her my arm. "Tonight's going to be unforgettable." The car ride to the restaurant was torture. Rachel chattered nervously about the dinner, the guests, her hopes for the evening. She kept glancing at me, trying to read my expression, clearly wondering when I'd reveal the true purpose of the celebration. "Michael," she said as we pulled up to the restaurant, "I want you to know how much I appreciate you, how much I've grown because of your support. Tonight feels like the beginning of something really beautiful." I kissed her cheek. "It's definitely an ending." She laughed, missing the meaning entirely. "You're such a romantic." The private dining room was perfect, soft lighting, elegant table settings, fresh flowers at every place setting. Our guests were already assembled, champagne glasses in hand, everyone dressed in their finest clothes. Rachel made her entrance like a queen, accepting congratulations and compliments with practiced grace. Jake stood near the bar, looking uncomfortable in an ill-fitting suit. He'd clearly expected a more casual affair, maybe dinner for 4 with Rachel finally coming clean about their relationship. Instead, he was surrounded by her family and friends, all of whom knew him only as Rachel's business partner. I watched him try to blend in, making small talk with Rachel's father about real estate markets and craft beer. He was out of his element, no longer the confident spiritual guru from his Instagram posts. Just a 29-year-old pretty boy surrounded by successful adults who'd earned their wealth through actual work. Rachel moved through the room like a butterfly, touching base with everyone, making sure they felt included in whatever announcement she expected me to make. She was in her element, the center of attention, the beloved wife celebrating 8 years of marriage. I let her enjoy it. This was her last night as Mrs. Michael Sloan. She might as well make it memorable. Dinner was exceptional. 4 courses, each paired with wines that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The conversation flowed easily. Shared memories, funny stories, gentle teasing about Rachel's Instagram obsession and my workaholic tendencies. Everyone was relaxed, happy, completely unsuspecting. Jake barely spoke during the meal. He kept glancing at Rachel, clearly confused by the family atmosphere, the intimate stories, the obvious affection everyone had for both of us. This wasn't the controlling, emotionally distant husband Rachel had described in her messages. This was a man who was clearly loved and respected by everyone at the table. I could see doubt creeping into his expression. As dessert was served, I stood up and tapped my champagne glass. The conversation died immediately, all eyes turning to me with expectant smiles. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady and warm. 8 years ago, Rachel and I promised to love, honor, and cherish each other through whatever life brought our way. It's been an incredible journey. Rachel beamed at me from across the table, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "We've built a beautiful life together," I continued. "A home, a business, a circle of friends and family who support us unconditionally. Rachel has been my partner in every sense of the word, and I couldn't imagine sharing this life with anyone else." The room was silent except for the soft clink of champagne glasses and the distant hum of the restaurant's main dining room. "Marriage isn't always easy," I said, letting my gaze drift around the table. "It requires trust, communication, and absolute commitment to each other's well-being. When that trust is broken, when that commitment is betrayed, it changes everything." I could feel the mood shifting, the comfortable warmth giving way to uncertain tension. Rachel's smile faltered slightly, but she still hadn't grasped what was happening. "So tonight, I want to share something with all of you, something that's been hidden for too long." I pulled out my phone and opened the presentation app. The wireless projector hummed to life, displaying a blank screen on the wall behind me. "Rachel, this is for you." The first image filled the screen, a text message thread between Rachel and Jake, time-stamped 3 days ago. Rachel: "Can't wait until Saturday. Michael's finally ready to accept our relationship." Jake: "About time. I was getting tired of sneaking around." Rachel: "Soon everyone will know how happy you make me." The silence in the room was deafening. Rachel's face went white, then red, then white again. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor in a spray of crystal and wine. "Michael," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What are you doing?" "I'm sharing our journey," I said calmly, advancing to the next slide. "Our evolution, our growth." The second image was a bank statement showing hotel charges, restaurant bills, and purchases at Victoria's Secret. All on our joint credit card, all on dates when Rachel had claimed to be at yoga class or visiting friends. Rachel's mother gasped. Her father's face turned stone cold. Jake started to rise from his chair, but my brother, 6'4" and built like a linebacker, placed a firm hand on his shoulder and guided him back down. "This is what conscious uncoupling looks like," I continued, my voice carrying easily through the stunned silence. "This is what authentic feminine expression costs." The third slide was a photo from Jake's phone, recovered from the shared iCloud account. Rachel on a hotel bed, wearing nothing but a smile and the diamond necklace I'd given her for our 7th anniversary. Several people pushed back from the table. Rachel's sister covered her mouth with her napkin. My mother looked like she might faint. "Stop," Rachel said, finding her voice. "Michael, please stop." "But we're just getting started," I said, advancing to the 4th slide. 8 months of personal growth, 8 months of spiritual awakening, 8 months of Jake Morrison helping my wife discover her authentic self. The 4th image was a screenshot of their text conversation from the previous week. Jake: "Your husband's money is funding our relationship. That's so hot." Rachel: "He has no idea. Poor Michael thinks I'm becoming more spiritual." Jake: "Maybe we should tell him. I bet he'd pay for our retreat center if you asked nicely." Rachel: "Let me work on him. I can get him to agree to anything." Jake lurched to his feet, knocking over his chair. "You're insane, man. This is harassment." "Sit down, Jake," I said without looking at him. "We're not finished yet." My brother's hand returned to Jake's shoulder, more firmly this time. Jake sat. "This one's my favorite," I said, clicking to the 5th slide. It was a photo of Rachel and Jake with 2 other women, Jennifer and Susan, at what appeared to be an intimate dinner party. All 4 were partially undressed, laughing at some private joke. "Rachel's not Jake's only spiritual student," I explained to the horrified audience. "She's part of a whole curriculum, a wellness program where married women pay to betray their husbands." Rachel was crying now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. But I wasn't done. The 6th slide showed Jake's bank account, with deposits from multiple women clearly labeled. Marketing consultation from Rachel. Retreat investment from Susan. Private coaching from Jennifer. Business partnership from Maria. "It's quite the operation," I said. "Rachel's contributed almost $40,000 to Jake's spiritual guidance over the past 8 months. Very generous of her. Very conscious." I clicked to the final slide. A photo of Rachel taken 2 days ago, naked in our bedroom, posing for Jake's phone camera. The timestamp showed it was taken at 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday, while I was at work, paying for the house where she was photographing herself for another man. The room erupted. Rachel's father stood up so violently his chair fell backward. Her mother was sobbing into her hands. Jake made another attempt to leave, but this time my brother and brother-in-law flanked him, making it clear he wasn't going anywhere. "Happy anniversary, Rachel," I said, raising my champagne glass. "Here's to 8 years of marriage and 8 months of adultery. Here's to conscious uncoupling and spiritual awakening. Here's to authenticity." I finished the champagne in one long swallow, then set the glass down and looked directly at my wife. "The divorce papers are in your inbox. The locks on the house have been changed. Your access to our joint accounts has been revoked. You have until Sunday to collect your personal belongings." Rachel tried to speak, but only managed strangled sobs. Her carefully constructed world was collapsing in real time, witnessed by everyone who mattered to her. "Jake," I said, turning to address her lover directly. "I've taken the liberty of sharing these photos with your other clients' husbands. Jennifer's husband was particularly interested in the receipts showing how his wife has been funding your lifestyle. Susan's attorney wants to discuss the legality of your retreat center investment scheme." Jake's face went gray. "You can't do this. This is revenge porn. I'll sue you." "With what money?" I asked. "Your business accounts were frozen this morning. Turns out the IRS takes a dim view of unreported income from multiple sources. They'll want to discuss your tax situation." I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message. Within seconds, Carmen Rodriguez and the process server entered the private dining room. "Rachel Sloan?" the server asked. Rachel could only nod, still crying too hard to speak. "You're being served with divorce papers and a restraining order. You're also being served with a civil suit for fraudulent use of joint assets." The papers landed on the table next to her untouched dessert. "Jake Morrison?" the server continued. "This is nonsense," Jake said. but he took the papers. You're being served with a cease and desist order regarding contact with Mrs. Sloan and a civil suit for alienation of affection. Have a good evening." The server left. Carmen Rodriguez lingered by the door, making sure Jake understood he was being watched. I looked around the room at the wreckage of our anniversary dinner. Rachel's family and friends sat in stunned silence, processing what they'd witnessed. Jake slumped in his chair, finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I said, as if nothing unusual had happened. "This has been exactly what I hoped it would be. Rachel, I know you've been wanting to live your authentic truth. Now you can, without my house, my money, or my name." I walked around the table and kissed her forehead, the way I had every morning for 8 years. "Goodbye, Rachel. Enjoy your spiritual journey." I left her crying in the ruins of our marriage, surrounded by the people who'd loved her and the man who'd used her. The bill for dinner was $14,000, but it was worth every penny. The story broke online within hours. Someone at the dinner, probably Rachel's college friend Jessica, who'd always been jealous of our lifestyle, leaked the details to a gossip blog. By Sunday morning, the conscious uncoupling hashtag was trending on Twitter, complete with screenshots of the bank statements and text messages. Rachel's influencer career died overnight. Her follower count plummeted from 847,000 to 23,000 in 48 hours. The wellness brands that had sponsored her content issued public statements distancing themselves from the recent revelations about Ms. Sloan's personal conduct. Her blog went dark. Her Instagram account disappeared. She tried damage control, posting a rambling statement about the complexity of modern relationships and growth through adversity. But the internet was merciless. The comments section became a wasteland of ridicule and moral judgment. Screenshots of her old posts about marriage goals and grateful wife life circulated with devastating irony. Jake's downfall was even more spectacular. Within a week, 3 other husbands had filed civil suits. Jennifer's husband, it turned out, was a federal prosecutor who took a special interest in Jake's tax situation. Susan's divorce attorney subpoenaed all of Jake's business records, revealing a pattern of financial exploitation that went back 2 years. The retreat center folded. The yoga certification program was investigated for fraud. Jake's Instagram account, once a shrine to spiritual masculinity, became a cautionary tale about predatory wellness culture. I watched it all unfold from my study, the same room where I'd discovered Rachel's betrayal 6 months earlier. The house felt different now, cleaner, quieter, more like home than it had in years. Rachel's curated aesthetic was gone, replaced by the functional simplicity I preferred. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Rachel's attorney, a family friend who'd initially tried to negotiate some form of settlement, withdrew from the case after reviewing the evidence. The prenup was airtight, the adultery undeniable, the financial malfeasance documented down to the penny. Rachel got nothing. No alimony, no property settlement, no claim to the business I'd built before meeting her. The court awarded her exactly what she'd contributed to our marriage, her personal belongings and the debt she'd accumulated funding her affair. She moved in with her sister initially, then disappeared entirely from our social circle. Mutual friends reported seeing her working at a yoga studio in Queens, teaching beginners classes for $40 per session. The woman who'd once curated a luxury lifestyle for nearly 1 million followers was back to earning minimum wage. Jake fared worse. The IRS investigation revealed $300,000 in unreported income and resulted in federal charges for tax evasion. He was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and ordered to pay restitution to his victims. The spiritual guru who'd promised to awaken women's divine feminine energy was now awakening at 5 a.m. for kitchen duty in a minimum security facility. I felt no satisfaction in their suffering. Satisfaction implied I'd been emotionally invested in their destruction, and I hadn't been. This was simply the natural consequence of their choices. as inevitable as bankruptcy following poor financial decisions. My life settled into new rhythms. I sold the Westchester house, too many memories, too much maintenance, and bought a smaller place in the city, a pre-war building with good bones and no Instagram-worthy aesthetic. The apartment overlooked a small garden instead of rolling lawns, but the view was honest. No artificial beauty, no curated perfection. I started cooking, something I'd never done during my marriage. Rachel had either ordered takeout or prepared elaborate meals for her blog, but never anything as simple as a grilled cheese sandwich or scrambled eggs. I discovered I enjoyed the process, the precision of timing, the chemistry of flavors, the satisfaction of creating something with my hands. Weekends were for woodworking in the basement shop I'd set up. I built furniture, tables, chairs, bookcases, pieces that would last decades with proper care. The work was meditative, requiring focus and patience, producing results that spoke for themselves without explanation or marketing. I grew tomatoes on the fire escape, 4 plants in terracotta pots, producing more fruit than I could eat. I gave the excess to neighbors, elderly women who remembered when the building had been full of families instead of young professionals. They invited me for coffee sometimes, sharing stories about their husbands, their children, their long marriages built on genuine affection rather than social media performance. The business thrived without the distraction of Rachel's needs and demands. I closed 3 major deals in 6 months, expanding into commercial properties in Boston and Philadelphia. Success felt different now, less about proving my worth to someone who'd never valued it, more about building something lasting and substantial. People asked about dating. My brother's wife introduced me to colleagues, friends' sisters, divorced women with careers and children and realistic expectations. I was polite but uninterested. Romance required trust I no longer felt capable of extending. Better to focus on work, on family, on projects that produced measurable results. The first anniversary of our divorce passed without ceremony. I was in Philadelphia that week, touring a potential acquisition, a 19th-century warehouse I wanted to convert into loft apartments. The building had beautiful bones underneath decades of neglect, solid construction that would outlast anything built today. I thought about Rachel briefly, wondering where she was, whether she'd learned anything from the consequences of her choices. But the thought was fleeting, like remembering a movie I'd seen years ago and hadn't particularly enjoyed. That evening I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine, a good Burgundy, not champagne, and reviewed the plans for the Philadelphia project. The conversion would take 18 months and cost $12 million, but the finished product would house 60 families in apartments they could actually afford to buy. Real value, not artificial scarcity. The tomatoes on the fire escape were ripening. The bookshelf I'd built was filled with actual books, not decorative objects chosen for their color scheme. The kitchen smelled like the bread I'd baked that morning, learning from YouTube videos and making adjustments based on trial and error. This was what authentic living looked like. Not performance, not curation, not spiritual awakening through betrayal. Just honest work, simple pleasures, and the quiet satisfaction of building something worth keeping. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, I wondered if it might be Rachel, reaching out on the anniversary of our divorce. But it was just a contractor confirming tomorrow's meeting about the Philadelphia project. I deleted the message and finished my wine. Outside, the city hummed with its usual energy. Millions of people living their real lives, making actual choices, dealing with genuine consequences. No filters, no hashtags, no audience to perform for. Somewhere out there, Rachel might be thinking about this date too. About the dinner that destroyed her marriage. About the choices that led to that moment. About the man she'd underestimated so completely. I hoped she remembered every detail. The shocked faces of her family, the horror in her friends' eyes. The moment she realized her carefully constructed lies had collapsed under the weight of documented truth. I hoped she remembered my voice as I delivered each revelation, calm and controlled and final. That was always the point. Not to hurt her, pain was temporary, forgettable, but to ensure she would never forget the consequences of believing her own performance, of mistaking manipulation for love, of confusing the man who'd built her beautiful life with someone too weak to destroy it. The wine was finished. The city lights twinkled beyond my window like stars in a clear sky, honest and distant and real. I had work to do tomorrow, buildings to construct, value to create. Rachel would remember tonight and every anniversary of it for the rest of her life. But I had already moved on to more important things. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.